Former two-time world heavyweight boxing champion Anthony Joshua continued his comeback with a knockout victory on Saturday in London, and now Joshua has his eyes set on a much bigger fight. So let's talk some boxing with combat sports expert and contributor to NBC Sports, Curran Bhatia. And Curran joins me now. Curran, how's it going, man?
Dexter, thank you so much for having me. There's a lot going on in boxing, a lot going on in the heavyweight division, so I'm glad to join you.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to talk to you about this because, as you said, so much going on in the heavyweight division, and a division that, starting to get a little bit more buzz around it again, which is always good for the sport of boxing. And Curran, Joshua, as you know, he's been criticized heavily throughout his career, but he delivered a thunderous seventh-round knockout of Robert Helenius on Saturday. How impressed were you with Joshua's performance, and do you think that this performance silences his critics?
I'm very impressed by Joshua's performance, but let me add a little bit of a caveat. I would probably give this a B+. And the reason for that, you're going to say, well, he knocked this guy out cold in the seventh round, and that is very impressive. He knocked out Robert Helenius, the Nordic Nightmare. The one thing, though, was that Robert Helenius was a backup opponent. Joshua was supposed to take on Dillian Whyte. That was the original fight. Dillian Whyte had an adverse finding, so there comes Robert Helenius. Now, the one thing about Robert Helenius, he's tough. He's a large man. They call him the Nordic Nightmare, and he's beaten top fighters like Adam Kovnowski. He beat Adam Kovnowski twice. So he is a top opponent, but he had just fought 1 week before this fight with Anthony Joshua. Now, that could be a good or bad thing, right? That you could say, well, you're trained, you're ready, you're active, or you just had a fight and now you have 1 week's notice to come in as a backup opponent. Either way, the important thing is Anthony Joshua got the job done. He got his confidence back, and it was an amazing right-hand knockout, seventh round, boom. Very impressive, and overall, I am very impressed by Joshua.
Okay, so you are impressed by Joshua, and so we're going to move forward to what could be next for Joshua. Now, promoter Eddie Hearn says the plan is for Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder and then current world heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. So I got to ask you this, Curran. Do you think Joshua is ready to challenge both fighters here? Is this the time for us to be talking about the next steps for him, and challenging those two fighters?
The issue in boxing is sometimes it can be maddening for us to get the fights that we want, and we want the best fighting the best, of course. So Anthony Joshua is among the best in the heavyweight division. So is he ready to take on Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? Yes, absolutely. The time is now. He's 33 years old. He's been through wars. He's proved himself. He's gotten through adversity. So absolutely, bring on Deontay Wilder. You mentioned that Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, said that they are currently negotiating the mega fight with Deontay Wilder in Saudi Arabia. It's now been reported that this would be in January. This would be a massive event, a massive card, and it's something that we've wanted in boxing for such a long time. Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, two fantastic fighters in the heavyweight division. They were circling for a long time. It would be great to get that on. Now, we mentioned Tyson Fury. I think that Joshua's ready to compete against Tyson Fury, but I think myself and other boxing fans would prefer if Tyson Fury first fights Alexander Usyk, the other unified champion in the division. So Usyk has 3 belts, Fury has 1. It would be great if they could fight first because we want to see a unification fight and then let the winner take on the winner of Joshua Wilder.
Okay, I think that playing out would actually be really good, and that brings me to my third question, because the interest in the heavyweight division, as you know, in the past, it was a lot higher. It hasn't been what it used to be. But what does Joshua sort of coming back into the mix do for the division, and do you think this helps to create more intriguing fights like the ones you just talked about down the road?
100%. An active Anthony Joshua makes the heavyweight division better. And right now, the heavyweight division is red hot. We mentioned the unified champion in Alexander Usyk. Then we mentioned Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is going to be taking on the UFC champion in Francis Ngannou in a boxing match. But we want to see these guys getting on. There's a lot of young talent like Jared Anderson, many other players in the heavyweight division. And you mentioned the history of the heavyweight division. I mean, this is a legendary, historic division. And one thing you have to look at is boxing is better when the heavyweight division is better. And I think sports are maybe better when boxing is better, right? I worked at HBO for a long time alongside the great Jim Lampley. And one of the things he said about the heavyweight division and the heavyweight champion was he called it one of history's most iconic designations. And you have to look at that wording. It's brilliant. Not just boxing's iconic designations, not just sports. History. And that's what being the heavyweight champion does, right? It's a title that transcends sports, transcends boxing, all of that. So to answer your question, I think an active Anthony Joshua in the heavyweight division makes for a lot of intriguing matchups and is a good thing.
All right, I think it is a good thing. Joshua with a big win. We'll see what happens next. Does he fight Wilder? Does he then have an opportunity to fight Fury down the road? It is all going to be very interesting to see what happens with the heavyweight division. That is Curran Bhatia, contributor to NBC Sports. He's a combat sports expert. Go check out his work. Curran, I'm glad we finally got to connect and do this. We'll do it again.
Dexter, thank you so much for the time. Always down to chat combat sports with you. Appreciate you having me on.
Anytime, man. Thank you.
Thank you.